Really excited to be here, and thanks for inviting me all the way from Dublin in Ireland to speak here today. I just want to check with everyone, maybe just a show of hands. Has anyone seen this movie, or does anyone know what this movie is? Okay, so maybe just to validate the learning really quickly, if you could call out maybe all together after three what this movie is. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. I didn't hear any Terminators or ETs or things like that. That's cool. Okay, so Back to the Future is probably my favorite movie, and today I'm going to be talking about accelerating product discovery, which I think Jacek gave a great overview of, using design sprints to go back to the future. Okay, so a little bit about me. First of all, Dzień dobry. I'm David Denham, so I'm a Scrum Master working in Workday Dublin. I'm the co-organizer of the Agile Lean Ireland community, so a community very similar to this. And it's fantastic to see a great community like this in Warsaw. And I'm an 80s movie geek, as you know already. Okay, so what's our journey back in time today going to be about? So we're going to talk about the challenge that one of my teams faced. We're going to talk about discovering a book from the future. We're going to talk about our journey. And we're going to talk about my top 3 learnings that I think you guys might find useful to experiment with your teams. Okay, so let's go back in time with my team. All right. Okay, so we're not going back to 1985. We're going back to January 2018, so earlier on this year. What challenges did we face? I was working with the learner experience team in Workday, and we generally found we had a long time to market for our epics. So I think that's something I've heard a bit about over the past 2 days. Like, what's our lead time for our epics? And we weren't always building the right thing. You know, from our analytics, about 30% of our features were like never or rarely used. And from a team survey, you know, the team felt they had a little connection to the users. So again, there was this feeling of we're focusing on the outputs and our outcomes. So from a motivation point of view from the team, not being connected to the outcomes was demotivating for the team. So we had a look at the delivery team, and we felt we were getting pretty good at Agile. So we were doing Kanban, we were doing continuous flow and WIP limits and things like that. We were hitting our goals. We were able to forecast using Monte Carlo simulation. I think there was an excellent talk on that yesterday. We were using mob programming. Again, there was a great talk about that earlier on this morning. So we were able to swarm on things all around the same computer. We were using BDD, so inspired by Dan North. Bugs are toast. We got our bug count down a lot over the course of a year. So why the survey feedback? So why did the team feel demotivated? So we needed to see the whole picture, right? Okay, so to see the whole picture, we got everyone together in the room, so leaders, PMs, architects, anyone who needed to be there to be part of this, and we did an exercise called value stream mapping. So has anyone ever used value stream mapping before? Okay, cool. Okay, I see a few hands. So value stream mapping is an awesome technique to use with your teams to see your whole process, your whole end-to-end process. So we wanted to see what was happening with these epics. Why were they taking so long to get done? So we had a look from when the idea was actually formulated, from concept to cash, basically. So from concept to actual delivery for the team. And we identified there were some phases going on. So we had our product discovery and epic prioritization, and PMs were kind of trading things between each other, lots of queues, working with UX, things like that. And then we had delivery. So delivery team were like, we rock at Agile, so we saw that already. But when we had a look at the steps, there was 67 steps in total to actually get from concept to cash. And when we had a look at the discovery part of our process, it didn't look good. So there was lots of queues, there was prioritization, there was reprioritization, there was user research, there was UX design, there was design reviews, there was all sorts of things going on. There was user testing in there as well, so that was good. So there's lots of good things in there, but there's lots of queues in the system. Our business agility wasn't good enough. So our team agility was fine, but our business agility wasn't good enough. And we measured this, so we looked at what's the cycle time across what's causing this long lead time. So it's taken about a year on average for an epic to get out the door. So about 7 to 10 months were spent in this discovery and prioritization stage, and 1 to 2 months for delivery. So we could kind of start to see what the problem was. So there was kind of an aha moment from all of us, from leadership and from the team. Okay, so our leaders set us a challenge. Now, they didn't have a gun like in this photo, but they said they set the challenge for us to reduce our time to market and also improve our user experience. Something needs to change. Okay, so like all good Agile teams, we said, let's try an experiment. Let's try something a bit different. Okay, so we said, is there a way we could fly to the future right now? if only we had a book from the future. So like Marty found in Back to the Future, he found the sports almanac and he could find out all the results from the future, and then he could go back in time and change things, right? So we found a book from the future. So some of the teams in Workday had started experimenting with design sprints. So what's a design sprint? So design sprint is a method kind of formulated by Jake Knapp, who works in Google Ventures. So it's a way to solve big problems and test new ideas in just 5 days. So that's all a design sprint is. Okay, so basically a design sprint, we want to go from idea to launch, skipping the build, skipping the launch, idea to learning in just 5 days. And what does it look like? So we start with a sprint challenge, so an ambitious, big, audacious sprint challenge for the team. We want to make a map then on Monday. On Tuesday, we're going to sketch competing solutions. Wednesday, we're going to decide on the best solution. So I'm going to talk through these in a second. Thursday, we're going to build a realistic prototype. And Friday, we're going to test it with target users. Okay, so who's on a design sprint team? Okay, so first of all, we have a decider. So a decider is, it's usually, in our case, was a product owner, so someone who can make the tough calls. So during the sprint exercises, the team's going to make very rapid decisions, but sometimes the team gets stuck, right? So someone to make tough calls. Okay, so sprint facilitator. So that's me. So sprint facilitator, it's kind of like a scrum master, someone who's going to facilitate the sprint process and help guide the team through the process, and also to keep the team energized. So bring lots of sugar and things like that for the team. It's a fairly intense process over the 5 days. And then we have a cross-functional sprint team. So who's on that? So this could be UX designers, developers, stakeholders, architects, leaders. So whoever can contribute to help solving the challenge for the team. So traditionally that would have been kind of UX designers and maybe just PMs as well. So this was a bit different. Okay, so in preparation, so this is not actually in the sprint book, but this is something we found useful to formulate our sprint challenge and to help us think big. We actually used the product vision board, like Jacek mentioned, so Roman Pitcher's product vision board, to actually just figure out, start empathizing with who our users were, what the business needs were, and to formulate like a sprint challenge for ourselves. So in our case, we use things like empathy mapping to do that, understand the users, bring in a sprint challenge. So we wanted to basically help our learners create a much more personalized experience for themselves. Okay, so day one. Day one, we create a map, basically. So we're going to map out our customer's journey through the product at the moment. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to identify the pain points. So where's the biggest opportunity that we can prototype this week to learn as quickly as we can? So we use a technique, I know Joshua talked about being curious. We use a technique from Procter & Gamble called How Might We? So basically we bring in some experts, some researchers, some customer support, sales, and they tell us about the challenges that they're seeing. And we formulate those challenges into something called How Might We? So basically How Might We is a way to reframe your challenges as opportunities. So again, it's just about being curious. So in our case, it's, how might we personalize the experience for Scrum Masters to make recommendations to them, and things like that. So that'd be an example. This is a great tool, and you can use it in retrospectives as well. It's a great tool to reframe problems as challenges. So we took the How Might We's, we affinity mapped them, we put them on our journey map, and so we had a target then. So we wanted to help the learner search and browse. So that was our target for the week. So day two. So we wanted to sketch competing solutions. Okay, so 9:30 a.m. on day two, on Tuesday morning, I announced to the team that everyone was going to be doing a day full of sketching. So it was horror and despair on the developers' faces when they saw this, right? So, this is something very much outside their comfort zone. By 10:30, it looked something like this. So everyone was sketching. So really the idea behind this is really to diverge and come up with as many different ideas as possible. So we had product manager, developer, UX designer, stakeholders all involved in the sketching exercise just to get it out on paper. Design sprints also have a concept of together alone. So it feels quite unnatural and uncomfortable, and I think that's something the team felt as well. But really we ended up with lots and lots of different ideas, and we kind of heat mapped them as well. So we got an idea of some ideas that might solve the challenge that we were up against. Okay, so day three is all about decision time. So this is when the rubber meets the road, I suppose. So we're converging at this stage. So we're trying to get to 1 or 2 prototypes to be built the following day. So we use a technique called art gallery, so we kind of critique the different ideas that came up. And I suppose this is all done anonymously as well, and at certain stages we need our decider to to help if the team gets stuck and things like that. So, but this was a challenge for the team, because it's kind of like, I'm a designer, I'm used to making these decisions and things like that. So, or my idea needs to be in there. So people get very attached to their ideas as well. So we ended up with 2 prototypes. So we basically storyboarded them at the end of the day. So day 4 was really all hands on deck. So this is around building our prototype. So this was mainly the 2 UX designers we had on the team. And the rest of the team were involved in helping gathering assets and things like that. And we built prototypes in Vision. So it's a pretty realistic way to kind of build prototypes very quickly and very cheaply. So day 5, we invited some real users in. So we got some recent graduates, and we got some new managers as well. So they kind of were our target personas. And we tested the 2 prototypes with them. They hated the first one, so so there was a lot of despair. This is the first time a lot of the development team had actually seen real users actually using their prototypes. I think Angal said, they may as well be Santa Claus up until now, So this was very different for them. But they chose Concept 2. Concept 2 really solved their needs really, really well. And for the team, this was great, because they went away. I think we had a few Guinnesses that night, I think, after this, but they went away, feeling really great that they created something that solved their needs very quickly as well. So this is actually what went in to being developed then. Okay, so what outcomes did we see? So faster time to market. So our epic lead time went down from about a year on average to 8 weeks. So we compressed that discovery and prioritization time down to a week for that, and then delivery time. Better user experience. So it was recently showcased at our Workday Rising Vision Track in Las Vegas. So our customers were really happy to see this coming along so quickly as well. And team survey. So we reran another survey. So basically we're saying it felt motivational that they co-created something together and they were part of the outcomes. Okay, so what to learn in the future? So 3 things I'd suggest to you guys to experiment with. Measure discovery cycle time, so the time from concept to validated learning. So this is your learning velocity. So we want to see how long does it take to validate your learning. If it's taken 6 to 9 months, that's way too long. So measure that and optimize it. Number 2, no paradoxes. So this is one of my favorite scenes, I think, when young Jennifer flies to the future and she meets old Jennifer, and a time paradox is created. In other words, so make discovery and delivery the same team. So there should be no shocks to the delivery team when we change ideas or we pivot, things like that. They understand things, and I really like that quote from Jake Knapp as well. It's really about getting people invested in the outcome, and that also applies to leadership by having them involved as well. Everyone was bought into this very, very quickly. Number 3, early feedback trumps perfection. So design sprints are really all about momentum. So momentum is really, really key in design sprint. It doesn't matter about getting it perfect. It's about learning as fast as you can. So I think Marty McFly puts it really well there in that quote too. Okay, so just before I leave you, just coming to a cinema in the future. So this is the community we run in Ireland, Agile Lean Ireland, happening in April. We're looking for speakers. There's a lot of awesome speakers here today, so if anyone's interested, please go to our website. That's me.